Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. And before we dive into today's episode, which is having a lot of fun trying to figure out who allegedly had a threesome with Garrett Morosky from FBoy Island from our favorite franchise, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I have my guess. And I want to know what you guys think. And I did a little bit of sleuthing and I have some extra details regarding this story. So before we dive in, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. So with that, let's go. So just for background information, this is from the Daily Mail, and it breaks down who Garrett Morosky is. I had never heard of him until like an hour ago when he, claimed that he had a threesome with two Beverly Hills housewives. Do I believe him? Yes. But I also have something else to show you guys too. So before we do that, I'm on one. Let's just read the article, go through everything, and then we're going to have a lot of fun figuring out who it is. So this is the background information. It says, a reality TV bad boy has set social media alight by claiming he once had a threesome with two stars of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Garrett Morosky, who appeared in season 1 of FBoy Island and went on to become the series' villain for choosing money over his relationship in the finale, made wild claims about a romp with two Bravo stars on a new podcast. Now, I have the clip from the podcast that we're going to play after we go through the article quickly, okay? While appearing on Marco's Smoochie Town Raw and Unfiltered podcast on Thursday, the 29-year-old TV personality claims he smashed two women from the hit show. He didn't reveal when the alleged encounter took place, nor did he reveal the identity of the women he claims were involved. DailyMail.com has reached out to Bravo for comment on the shocking allegations. Without naming names, Morosky recalled shaking the hands of one of the women's husbands after the alleged sexual encounter. He claimed that he and the star had a threesome with one of her friends, who's also on the show midday, in her husband's bed. After that, I went in the back and was like jumping on a trampoline with like her kids and stuff, he alleged. Bro, it was one of the most ridiculous things. When the woman's husband showed up, he said he asked, F, what do I do? He claimed she said for him to say he's a real estate agent checking out the house. All right. And then the host of the podcast asked Morosky, saying his acting classes must have really paid off in that moment. Later, he says he got a text message from the husband saying he would, quote, love to meet you in Beverly Hills to chat with some business. At the dinner, Morosky claims the man came with a dude who looked like a Secret Service and told him, listen, if you ever go around my family or my kids ever again, my buddy right here will take care of you. Now, we just read it, but I want you guys to listen to what from like the horse's mouth, okay? So let's listen to what he had to say. Here we go.
Tell you that I smashed two of the Beverly Hills housewives. I shook their husband's hand after.
Wait, you had a threesome with him?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, her and one of her friends, who's also on the show. Midday.
Midday?
Yeah, in her husband's bed. And then after that, I went in the back and was jumping on a trampoline with like her kid and stuff. Bro, it was the most ridiculous
Yeah,
thing.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
All of a sudden, her husband shows up, comes over, and I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, just say that you were like a real estate agent here, like checking out the house. And at the time, I was doing some real estate. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll just say that.
Those acting classes paid off.
Bro, I got a text message from him saying, I'd love to meet you. Come meet up with me in Beverly Hills. I want to chat with some business and stuff like that. Like, I might have some stuff for you. This is the first time I've ever told this story. So I go to this dinner. And I'm like, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? And he's like with this dude who's like, looks like he's like Secret Service. And he's like, listen, if you ever come around my family or my kids ever again, my buddy right here will take care of you. Tell you that I smashed two of the Beverly Hills housewives. I shook their husband's hand after.
Wait, you had a threesome with him?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, her and one of her friends, who's also on the show. Midday.
Midday?
Yeah, in her husband's bed. And then after that, I went in the back and was jumping on a trampoline with like her kid and stuff. Bro, it was the most ridiculous
Yeah,
thing.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
All of a sudden, her husband shows up, comes over, and I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, just say that you're like a real estate agent here, like checking out the house. And at the time, I was doing some real estate. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll just say that.
Those acting classes paid off.
Bro, I get a text message from him saying, I'd love to meet you. Come meet up with me in Beverly Hills. I want to chat with some business and stuff like that. Like, I might have some stuff for you. It's the first time I've ever told this story. So I go to this dinner and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? And he's like with this dude who's like, looks like he's like Secret Service. And he's like, listen, if you ever come around my family or my kids ever again, my buddy right here will take care of you. I tell you that I smashed two of the Beverly Hills housewives.
Okay, you guys, so you heard it from the horse's mouth. Now, a couple of things. Number one, all of this is obviously what he's claiming, alleged. Do I personally believe it? Yes, but I did catch him in one lie. I caught him in one lie, and I'm going to tell you what that lie is in a little bit. So you guys got to stick around. So let's finish up the article. So the podcast host commented on Instagram that this was the craziest story on his podcast yet. His pal described the women as, quote, cougars preying on a young boy. The interview sparked a flood of online speculation over which Real Housewives he could possibly have hooked up with. Morosky Garrett is best known for starring on FBoy Island, which is a reality dating series on HBO Max, hosted by Nikki Glazer. Side note, last year, I actually had one of the FBoy Islands contestants guys on my podcast. I host a podcast, and he was on there. It wasn't this guy, Garrett. I think it was from a different season, but it was one of the FBoy Island guys. So you guys should go back and listen to that episode. It's really good. Anyway, that was just a shameless plug. Let's keep going. During the show, women are forced to choose between self-proclaimed nice guys and F-boys with $100 grand on the line. It is shot in the Cayman Islands and centered on three ladies that are tested on their ability to choose from a pool of 24 eligible men on which are looking for a serious relationship or just cash and casual sex. During his first stint on the show, Garrett received the surprise of a lifetime when he didn't get to keep the 100 grand for rejecting Sarah due to his F-boy ways that were condemned by the network. So basically, he won the show, he chose the money, and then HBO Max decided not to pay him. Now, you might be thinking, what was the lie? Because we're going to get into figuring out who the two housewives are. This is the lie. So he claimed, and it's not necessarily a bad lie because it actually corroborates his story, but you know me. I need a second source. I need to be validated. I need corroborating evidence. So he claimed in the podcast that this was the first time he ever told that story. Well, survey says that was a lie because I found out that he actually told this story over 9 months ago. He told this story about having sex with two of the housewives, basically the same story he told verbatim on this woman's YouTube channel. It was like some type of like dating YouTube channel. Her name is Ladima. But I'm not just going to tell you guys. I'm going to show you guys because I obviously got the clip. So let's watch him telling this story. And he told this story nearly 9 months ago at this point. So honestly, even though he lied and said it was the first time he ever told the story, this gives his claim credence because he's basically repeating the same exact story on two different platforms almost a year apart and without any really, gain. Like he doesn't have any motive for lying. He's not getting paid to lie. He's not currently on a TV show saying this, for a storyline or a come up. And he's already said this story in the past and it didn't really blow up on social media. So I think he was just in the podcast, just telling his bro a story that he'd already told. So it actually gives his claims credence. But like I said, I come with the receipts. So let's watch.
Ooh. I would say the situation is different. I fucked 2 of the Beverly Hills housewives at one of the husband's houses, and then he came home and shook my hand. It was super weird, and we pretended that I was a real estate agent. About like a week later, I think he kind of understood what was going on, and then he called me to go get dinner with him in Beverly Hills.
And asked?
And he brought some dude with him that looked like it was a hitman. It was like, if you ever come near my family or my wife ever again, I'll fucking murder you.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so then I walked away. And I was like, all right. The thing is I don't know enough about Ledemi right off rip to know the...
So what do you guys think? This is a story he's now told on at least 2 separate occasions, and he's pretty much confirmed, he stayed consistent. He stayed consistent with his story. He seems like he's telling the truth. He seems like he's reliving something. And he seems like he was genuinely scared that this housewife's husband was going to have him, beat up or something. The name of the show that he was on, it was called, the woman's name is like Ledemi, Lademi. And it was just, I found it on YouTube, guys, because I was just, doing my little due diligence, and I got the clip, and this was the show that it was on. I don't know where this aired, but I was able to find the clip. So it gives his story credence. But now let's play a fun game of who could it be? Who could it be? So who has children that are young enough to be on a trampoline? We have Dorit, we have Crystal, Kyle, Garcelle, Carlton, Denise, Camille. Because remember, he never said when this happened, but I have an idea of when it happened. Now, also, who's married and has a husband? Kyle's married, Dorit is married, Crystal's married, Erica's married, Carlton's married, Denise is married. I put Camille, but because, she got divorced, but she was married. Now, who has a connection to real estate? That could be any of them, because that was just, the cover story. And then let's think about who could be the friend. Well, that could be anybody too, right? It could be Brandy, Erica, Lisa Rinna, Garcelle. Garcelle needs to get in where she fits in. Sutton can't get a second date, but maybe she could get some, some young peen. Lisa Vanderpump, she does like the young guys. We all know she likes to favor the guys. Eileen, Yolanda, Kim Richards, Camille, Kim. It could be anybody, right? It could be anybody. But there are different similarities. So I want to know what you guys think. Put it in the chat box. Who do you think is this friend? Who do you think is the main housewife? And remember, the main housewife had kids who are young enough to be on a trampoline, is married with a husband, and possibly has an actual connection to real estate, but that could just be a cover story, right? Now let's talk about some of the internet theories before I reveal to you who I think it actually is. So some internet theories have been Carlton and Brandy. It says some people in the comment section thought it might be Carlton because she has a trampoline and all of that. And then with Brandy. And then another person says, I don't believe this person, but what about Denise and Brandy? There was the whole Brandy and Denise, having their alleged hookup session. What if they threw in a young hot thing? And we all know this sounds like something Brandy would do as the friend. Brandy, we know she's down for a young guy. She loves being a cougar, and she seems like she would be down for a threesome. Now, I'm going to tell you who I actually think it is. Are you ready? And it's someone that I purposely have not said yet. Da-da-da-da. My guess is that it is Kyle and Teddi Mellencamp. And I'm going to tell you why. Number one, children young enough to be on a trampoline. Definitely Teddy. Teddy has some youngin' kids. They might be a scotch older now, but she has some youngins, right? Kyle too. We can't count out Portia. But my guess is that I think Teddy was the married housewife with the kids and the trampoline, and I think Kyle was the friend that he had the threesome with. Teddy has the children who are young enough, right? So does Kyle. Teddy is married with a husband. So does Kyle, right? Connection to real estate, Teddy and Kyle. Mauricio has the agency. And don't forget, and this is where the fact that he didn't say when it happened comes into play, right? Because don't forget, Teddy sold her house, I think in 2020, 2021. So if the guy is there and they've had sex and then Edwin comes home, just say you're a real estate agent looking at the house because their house was up for sale. So it goes great for the cover story, right? Who have been rumored to be more than friends? Teddy and Kyle. There have been rumors that they hook up, that they're codependent, that they are more than friends, that they do whatever. They have matching tattoos, all of that. There have been those rumors. Who has a genuine friendship? I mean, built on actual trust, not just an alliance. Teddy and Kyle. And this is also very important because he kept saying Beverly Hills, Beverly Hills. He was in Beverly Hills. Who actually lived in Beverly Hills? And again, the when matters. Kyle and Teddy both did prior to their moves in about 2020-21 to Encino. So it makes sense that I think this happened probably 2019, 2020 time. I would say 2019, 2020. And then guess who has a freaking trampoline? And guess who's in the trampoline with her kids? Teddy Mellencamp. And this is on Bravo.com. Teddy Mellencamp family enjoys their trampoline time. Now, this is the thing. If you don't tell me that Teddy Mellencamp has kids young enough to be on a trampoline, she owns a trampoline, and this was in her house, the one that she sold. So this was in her Beverly Hills house. And doesn't Teddy have a husband, Edwin? And isn't Edwin shady as hell? He has this whole security company that's always being, sued left and right. So I'm sure he has some shady security installation guys that could probably look like a Secret Service guy, mafia guy that's going to come and beat you up if you don't stay away from my wife and kids. And the reason why I think the friend is Kyle is because I don't think Teddy is close enough to anybody else on the cast to be scissor sisters with a young guy in her own home that she trusts. Do you see what I'm saying? So that is why I think it's Teddy and Kyle. Now, my first thought was Dorit. But I think my first thought was Dorit because let's go back to the other slide, okay? So my gut first thought it was Dorit. And I think the reason why I thought it was Dorit was because Dorit does have kids young enough to be on a trampoline. She is married with a husband, and she has a husband, PK. And the whole real estate, I thought, well, they don't actually own their home. So, just say you're a real estate agent looking at the house would make sense since they don't own it. Maybe some investors wanted to see it, or the real people who own it wanted to see it or sell it, whatever. But then Dorit doesn't have a trampoline in her house, to my knowledge. And I think the fact that Teddy does, and also the fact that Teddy was living in Beverly Hills with a trampoline prior to her move to Encino made me think it was more Teddy. But I say that to say this. Do I think Dorit is capable of this? Yes, 100%. But I think in this particular situation, given the details that this particular person said, the facts add up more to it being Teddy. And again, I think it's Kyle because I can't think of anybody else who would have a threesome with Teddy. I don't see Dorit having a threesome with Teddy. I don't even see Erica doing it, or Lisa Rinna, or anybody else. And those are really her only allies and friends, right? So I think it's Teddy and Kyle. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. So put your guesses down below. My first question is, do you believe this guy? Do you think he's telling the truth? I do. I do think he's telling the truth, particularly because I found that first interview and it corroborates what he said. He's basically said the same thing verbatim. He doesn't have a motive to lie. Like, he's not getting anything out of this. Sure, we're talking about him, but I don't think that was his motive. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I do believe him, and I do think he's telling the truth. And I want to know what you guys think. Who do you think the two housewives are? You have my guess. I think it's Kyle and Teddy. But I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. But before you do that, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. So with that, you guys, I'm going to drop the link because it's Friday night and I feel like running my mouth a little bit more. So the link is dropped in case anybody